K-pop soloists nowadays are, how do I put this gently, a tragedy. How did we go from soloists like Sunmi releasing one masterpiece album after another, delivering artistry at its finest, to Rosé doing whatever this is called? Once upon a time, Changha was releasing Song of the Year contenders in 2019, when BTS was still making Korean music. Speaking of the good old years, 2018 seems almost like a distant memory now, but believe it or not, that year alone gave us BB, Siren, Heroine, yes, Sunmi gave us count 'em, 2 hits in 1 year for 1 album. Dali by Hyolyn, Daydream by J-Hope, Changha's Roller Coaster, I could go on. But now, in the year of our Lord 2025, we're basically giving Lazarus a run for his money, begging for crumbs below the tables of our big 3 company overlords, and expected to show gratitude for this. Tragedy indeed. Idols so many of us believed had the most potential as soloists a few years ago are leading some to wonder if going solo is about the first step an idol takes to end their careers. Their music feels uninspired, their concepts are labeled boring, their albums seem to be allergic to charting, and everything they do tends to be forgotten in like a week. Nothing in this bunch of K-pop feels passionate or personal anymore, and it's evident in the tendency to release one mediocre album after another while vanishing into thin air in between releases for long periods of time. Even soloists of the second generation whom we fell in love with during the early globalization of K-pop have turned into empty shells with nothing exciting to offer audiences anymore compared to their glory days. And as for those being introduced to us from the third generation, nothing they bring to the platform hasn't already been exhausted during their times as group members, and those that do bring the best in music don't ever seem to reach their highest potential commercially. It looks like idols these days in K-pop are going solo just for the sake of going solo. The lack of innovation, preparation, and creativity appears to be sending a message that idols don't seem to know what to do with themselves after spending all of their youthful years giving them away to the soul-sucking industry, and that their companies don't seem to plan for or care about what happens to their artists once they have squeezed every last drop of their group's potential. In other words, soloists in K-pop just suck right now, and if things have any hope of getting better, the industry needs to make some serious changes, starting with acknowledging something very necessary. Most of the soloists they are producing nowadays do not deserve solo careers.
I love her lack of energy! Go girl, give us nothing!
I saw a few creators clutch their pearls because of the usage of the word deserve, and tried to give us rants about how claiming an idol doesn't deserve a solo career is just so mean and unfair. But nothing in this world is fair, least of all the truth. And the truth is a necessity companies must utilize in order to decide what idols in their pool are worth fishing for a solo career. I've addressed the usage of this word before on my channel when I remade 꽟ᴜᴜ's career, one hell of a video by the way, where I mentioned that the word deserve simply means to show qualities worthy of something. So if an idol doesn't show qualities needed to be a soloist, then the answer is simple, they shouldn't be one. Or at the very least, they shouldn't be one without proper preparation, but more on that later. Companies that tend to gift solo careers as consolation prizes or out of public pressure, yes, I'm talking about JYP, are doing a disservice to the industry, their pockets, and the audiences they have spent years building for their groups. By neglecting this crucial first step, it is no wonder their soloists have no longevity. It should be standard procedure, a must, if you will, for companies to ask themselves, is this idol worth investing into? As cold as that question feels, it is important. When putting together an artist's debut or even comebacks, companies ought to invest time, money, labor, and physical resources. It is only fair that they get returns for it. And if for some reason the market rejects their investment, all of that goes to waste. To avoid that wastage, these companies must predict how the market will react to their investment by making sure that there's demand for it in the first place. Take aespa's Karina as an example, whose solo did so well it was outcharting several groups on Korea's most popular charts, even earning herself a music show win without officially debuting as a soloist or promoting the song. That is a sign for demand. It shows that the audience wants her. Apart from the song, Karina herself as an artist holds an enormous amount of popularity behind her in the local and international market. She's an investment that will be worth it for SM Entertainment. This also answers the question that one creator had several months back about who gets to decide if an idol does deserve a solo career or not. Here's a spoiler alert. It's us, the audience. If one as an idol has spent 10 years in a group giving the public nothing they would value from them as a soloist, the audience's lack of faith in them is not the audience's fault. That is something I wish jihyo's fanbase would learn to understand. The number of years an idol has invested into a company should not be a determinant as to whether they deserve to go solo or not. Qualities such as demand for the artist, being easily marketable, star quality, and visual branding should be the top priority. JYP prioritizing Nayeon as a soloist seemed to leave a bitter taste in their mouths. By the way, for years now, they have sworn up and down that jihyo is more deserving of a solo career than anyone in TWICE. But considering the qualities I've just listed, it's not even a little bit of a mystery why Nayeon was given this preference. Nayeon has been the face of TWICE for as long as anyone can remember. She's the group's most popular member in Korea, and she's the most popular Korean member in their biggest foreign markets. Her visual aesthetics and public persona are easily marketable to locals, and she suits some of the most major beauty standards in the country. Her personality is considered to be approachable, elegant, and youthful in image, all qualities easy to commercialize through music, brand deals, and endorsements. Nayeon has spent the previous 6 years of TWICE's career establishing an image for herself that aligns with what most Koreans look for in mainstream soloists, consistently outshining the members of her group in several comebacks. A stage presence archetype is adored in many K-pop idols and often praised by TWICE's Korean fanbase. Notice how I haven't said a thing about her talent despite the fact that she is talented? That is often another mistake jihyo's fanbase and most K-pop fans, if we're gonna be honest, tend to make when determining who's deserving of a solo career. Talent, as important of an asset as it is, doesn't play the biggest role, and in some cases even a significant role, in the success of an artist. A good number of artists in the West alone do not possess extremely admirable skills in their field of work, but they are wildly successful, while others, despite possessing great talent, went unrecognized for several years before breaking out. What determined their success was marketing. To be more specific, branding, which should be the second thing on companies' list once they've picked an idol of their choice.
All I wanted to do for this album is showcase a different side of myself. That's why we have all the 5 egos that represents every side of me.
If someone approached me in 2020 and told me that in 4 years' time, I'd not only be enjoying Addison Rae's music, but even looking forward to future releases, I would have asked where they purchased whatever they were smoking. But oddly enough, here we are in 2025, and I not only have her music on repeat, I literally find myself looking her up, wondering when the next single will be. I cannot believe I live in a world where Addison Rae gets credibility from an artist literally known for being a musical genius. Plenty of creators are making videos about her rebrand, loving it, and it seems like the world has forgotten that once upon a time this girl was a cringy TikToker believed to have no musical bone in her body. This just goes to show the power of a well-planned and successful rebrand. I'm sure you've heard the phrase level up so good you'll have to reintroduce yourself. And to me, that is a significant component most companies are missing when transforming a group idol into a soloist. Assuming that an idol doesn't have to bring anything new or creative to the table because they already have an audience is a step in the right direction. If the destination is Korea's suicide, that is. There is absolutely no point in introducing a soloist who will give the audience the same thing they are already used to getting when they're in the group. Otherwise, just stay in the group then. K-pop fans are always looking for something fresh and outside the norm, and oftentimes than not, innovation in music is rewarded graciously. A company must make sure that the idol they are presenting with a solo career after 5, 6, 7 years in a group will have a brand worth following after, and often it's going to mean reintroducing themselves. This is where Jennie and Rosé keep missing it. It's painful to watch so many K-pop content creators make videos about how smart Rosé's marketing team is simply because she had one hit on a 12-song album. And that hit isn't even in her own right. It's because she collaborated with one of the most popular artists in the world, which in itself is not a bad thing. But seeing how none of that success trickled to the rest of her album compared to artists like Sabrina Carpenter, for example, it's safe to say that her marketing team is getting a little too much credit here. Apta's success was her team's opportunity to give an audience that was now paying attention to her something worth looking at, and they failed miserably. Part of the reason why they did was because they were not prepared for the success the song would accumulate, and it shows. Not to mention, her studio album was already completed and the launch date was in sight, making it even harder to make any changes in just 2 short months. And that's the thing about branding. It shouldn't start with an album announcement or even a solo announcement. For it to feel authentic, it should start with an image change. Lisa becoming more feminine and explicit as an idol was not random. If one traces far enough, they will notice that by the time the public caught up to her shedding her so-called YG image, she had already been at it for a while. And while she still acknowledges her tomboy persona as part of who she is, Lisa adds a layer to her personality as a way to introduce herself to a new market, presenting herself as multifaceted and sophisticated. From working with quality brands she personally loves, embracing her more feminine and sensual side, and dabbling into acting in an already established and critically acclaimed TV series, and most importantly, distancing herself from the Blackpink brand as a whole. Creating a brand for herself outside of Blackpink's bubble may piss some K-pop fans off, but it's irrelevant. Because Lisa is introducing a new self to a new audience. It doesn't have to all be about Blackpink. And trust me, in the long run, it will do her good. This is what Rosé was supposed to do at the height of aespa's success. Use what was an opportunity to rebrand and capture a new market outside her overused "I'm always a broken-hearted girl who's never chosen" persona. The song represented her as humorous, spunky, and relatable. Building an image around that would have been crucial to her commercial stardom. Smart celebrity associations are hard to come by. Celebrity associations such as Sabrina Carpenter and Taylor Swift, Addison Rae and Charli XCX, or Ice Spice and Nicki Minaj should not be squandered. What Rosé was supposed to do was milk Bruno Mars for all he's worth, and you best believe he has plenty of it. And I don't mean hanging out with him on balconies and award shows. I'm talking about associating with him as an artist. Ice Spice got 2 Nicki Minaj collaborations in 1 year. Sabrina Carpenter opened for Taylor Swift on tour, and Addison Rae was highly praised by Charli for her artistry. In fact, every time Addison releases a new song, Charli is always there to cheer her on. If Rosé had collaborated with Bruno on a different song, say 3 AM, that is a perfect song, or showing up at an event that he's doing, or even having him speak on her as an artist in his interview, or better yet, working together on a song, just the two of them from scratch without other writers, is how you use borrowed credibility to your advantage and run with it. This would not only create anticipation around her as an artist, but that anticipation would come with curiosity from the audience about what she's capable of, creating an air of mystery, which is missing component number 2 in most K-pop soloists. When I asked my best friend how we would rebrand jihyo as a soloist, the first thing she said was that she would get jihyo off the internet. Guys, I think we have too much twice. No, I'm being so serious. Overexposure is an enemy to the success of artists sometimes. There are moments when people want to see you everywhere, but eventually an audience will get tired of you if you don't know how to play the push-pull game. I was scrolling through Twice's official Instagram page to get some screenshots of an item I needed for this video. I was scrolling for days. My pinch note was just not having it. I gave up. Twice as a group lack mystique, and being everywhere all the time, always doing something, contributes to their soloists being seen as uninteresting. If jihyo before her debut had given her audience the opportunity to miss her, it would have worked in her favor. And we all know what happens when an idol disappears for at least 3 months. People start asking questions. That is the power of scarcity marketing. Scarce resources draw their strength in the fact that scarcity increases their value. Let me put it this way. When my dad was growing up in the 70s, he was considered well off because both his parents were in white-collar jobs and could afford to buy a black and white television. I doubt at his young age at that time he ever envisioned one day televisions being so common that his own kids wouldn't care about them. By the time his eldest daughter was 13, he bought her first laptop. He got his youngest daughter her first touchscreen phone as a gift for her 12th birthday, and his son owned a tablet by the big age of 5. The more readily available something is, oftentimes than not, the more it decreases in value. That's why salt is cheap, because its source is 97% of the substance that covers 70% of our entire planet. Scarcity works so well for Idol and aespa as both groups witness a surge in growth and popularity coming back after year-long hiatuses, and they've continued to blossom ever since. Marketers know the power of scarcity, and they realize that audiences tend to want what is not always readily available to them. It's been like 15 years and I still want a new episode of Terra Nova, even though Stephen Lang is like 70 at this point. If utilized properly, a hiatus could be beneficial to jihyo. If I were JYP, I'd starve her fans of a long-anticipated debut while making nayeon and even Seulgi a priority, honing in that emotional marketing because you know people would be pissed if Seulgi debuted before jihyo. However, that anger would increase demand for her as a soloist. Even better, I would make a full group comeback in between nayeon and Seulgi's debuts with a significant reduction of jihyo's presence in the music video. And while Seulgi promoted her debut, I would make sure there was several months of radio silence from jihyo. No social media posts, no paparazzi pictures, no V-lives, and definitely no public appearances with other Twice members. In fact, I would have her delete plenty, if not all, of her current posts on Instagram. Basically have her vanish off the face of the earth. It is only when fans start asking questions about where she is that I'd start rebranding her with a public appearance at a well-known event, most likely a fashion show held by a brand I'd want her to be associated with in the future. And with that appearance, jihyo would debut a look unlike anything she's ever worn in her decade-long career. Preferably something bold and daring paired with an edgy hairdo, definitely a contrast to those corporate girly outfits they keep giving her every fashion week. By the way, I would also jump through hoops to make sure the public was unaware of her attendance prior to the event. Never underestimate the power of the element of surprise. Being at a well-known event with a new look would get people talking, and when people talk, they build interest. Working on her new brand for at least a year before giving her solo album would put her at an advantage. Scarcity creates value. Value sparks interest. Interest builds anticipation. And once anticipation sets, fans become obsessed. That is the key. The less people know what is going on, the more obsessed they are with getting answers. Do you know why Lisa's Crazy Horse performance was such a hot topic, apart from how polarizing it was to her image, obviously? It's because the event was highly private, and to this day, we don't know what went on in there. Mystique increases engagement and anticipation, and too many soloists do not have that anymore. Either they are overexposed on social media by being all over the place, or they just vanish randomly and then pop up out of nowhere with an album, which to nobody's surprise inevitably flops. K-pop soloists need to be highly calculative with hiatuses. They need mystique, they need strategy, and best of all, they need a perfect landing. Because what is even the point of a hiatus if you come back with trashy music? Yes, Sunmi, I'm talking about you. That's component number 3.
I got you like...
The perfect sound. Both Minnie and Jisoo did a marvelous job with their recent albums. The girls' music not only suit their beautiful tones, the concepts of their chosen songs felt authentic to their personas. Seulgi gets credit for this as well. Songs on her album like Crown, 28 Reasons, and Anywhere But Home not only suit her vocals, they align with her dark yet alluring aura. Minnie's Her brings out a deep, mysterious, and sexy energy which is often restrained within a lot of j-idol's music, and this is heavily imprinted in the songs Cherry Sky and Blind Eyes Red. Jisoo in Your Love and Hugs and Kisses uses various elements of mid-2010s nostalgia such as dreamy instrumentals, layered vocals, descriptive similes, vocal textures, and lucid ad-libs to draw the audience's mind to a time when music was enjoyed just for the sake of it. Almost everyone I've watched react to this song say they make them want to go on a road trip with the windows down and the wind blowing through their hair. That is the power of nostalgia and sensory marketing, using familiar sounds that people miss to bring enjoyment. And at a time when the 2010s summer playlists are getting millions of views on social media, Jisoo not rushing to follow whatever musical trends are popular at the moment, and taking advantage of the style of music is genius on her team's part. The best part about this is that she, and Minnie does this as well, doesn't simply make her music nostalgic. She adds her own personal style through vocal tone and mixing to make the song hers, not just another random nostalgic song. This is what turns musical style into personal distinctive sound. Artists like jihyo and seulgi lack this element in their albums, hence why, as good as some of their B-sides are, they tend to be forgettable and feel unsatisfactory. Rosé's studio album suffered this gravely. ябʟᴜ, as I said, gave her voice so much personality and color, but the rest of the album took that all away, making the songs feel unenthusiastic. Pumping an album full of Taylor Swift rejects does not spark an audience's interest. Believe you me, they can tell when someone lacks personality. This is why soloists thrown at fans by companies without careful planning around their branding always lack authenticity and longevity. Never assume your audience is stupid and that they will take whatever you give them. Put in some effort, plan ahead, pick a sound that is perfect for your artist, build anticipation, and play with your audience's senses. And speaking of senses, that is the final and most likely the most essential part of marketing a soloist: visual branding. This is where Sunmi used to thrive as an artist. Let's play a little game, shall we? Who do these pictures remind you of? Chances are you said Sabrina Carpenter. What about these? Chances are you said Olivia Rodrigo. It's no coincidence that this set of pictures remind you of certain people. Visual branding is responsible for that. It uses elements like color palettes, fonts, item associations, and all sorts of visual elements to represent something. Visual elements make an emotional impression on a customer, and they make a brand memorable. How do Nicki Minaj fans tell the difference between her many alter egos? How do the Vampire Diaries fans differentiate Elena from Catherine? What is the difference between using Rory Gilmore as studying motivation in comparison to Elle Woods? The power visual element combinations have in forming a universe is impeccable. Just ask Red Velvet or illit. Magnetic as a song was such a cultural shift on K-pop because it was not just the song that made the impression, it was the visuals that had fans obsessed. From Mocha's cinnamon roll outfit, Wonnie's soft and ethereal visuals, the usage of baby blues, back rooms, soft lighting, unicorns, bows, stars, keys, and luminary spaces to complement the dreamy plug-and-B instrumentals laid with sweet airy background vocals. The combination of these visual elements made for a debut that would make history and break record after record, even going as far as to creating its own aesthetic. Rein's comeback trailer for Glow Up and Heart to Heart's concept videos have been called illit coded because they combine elements now associated with illit as a group. The reason why people make those associations is because being a fan of illit is more than just listening to good music. B-Lift makes sure that it is an actual experience. It's not a coincidence that majority of illit's fandom are young women in their 20s. Just listen to their fan chants at music shows. Women everywhere. Ilit's concept is designed to bring out the inner child in most girls like us who grew up watching TV shows like Sailor Moon, Glitter Force, and Lolly Rock by using key elements that make up the magical girl aesthetic as the core of their concept. භᴟ through Ilit's music tells stories the demographic can relate to that are nostalgic to that time of their lives, like the beauty and struggles of having crushes, the joy and pains of first love, and dreaming of living in a perfect world far from the reality of the daily hustle of life. It's a world of escapism where nostalgia meets art, presenting the pains of letting go of first love to that of extracting a wisdom tooth, which, side note, the words for wisdom tooth and love in Korean sound similar. Shots of the girls clutching onto their wisdom teeth, even to their detriment, highlighting that feeling of not wanting to let go of a first love because it hurts too much to lose it, or the desperate need to impress a crush by changing one's personality through outfit transformations in TikTok, which, by the way, outfit transformations are common in magical girl TV shows. This is how visual branding creates universes fandoms love to deep dive into to feel connected to their favorite artists. The use of aesthetics, themes, storytelling, and concepts are the foundation blocks of that universe. Illit shows that by taking that universe further than just their music, the girls literally wear their aesthetic. From airport fashion and casual wear to promotional photo shoots and fan content, no matter where they go or what they do, Illit eat, live, and breathe their aesthetic. That component has become long forgotten in soloists, the component that made Sunmi's past music so great. She was more than just her distinct sound, she was a universe of experiences. Noir, La 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 Lay, Gashna, Siren, Heroine were all different worlds yet interconnected somehow into one universe with color schemes, intricate themes, and attractive elements. Soloists, whether trying to impress the local Korean market or the wider Western audience, need to start giving us experiences. This is the marketing strategy to success, bringing back fun and excitement to the standing experience for K-pop fans. In an industry so cutthroat, competitive, and calculated, it is easy to get lost in spreadsheets, wanting to make big numbers or the need to outdo your competition. But what companies seem to be forgetting is that those numbers aren't produced in thin air. They come from real people who want real experiences. There's a reason why Hailey Bieber never drops a new launch for Rhode without associating it with something people already know and enjoy in real life, like sweet treats or fruit. That's because she's not just selling a lip product or a blush, she's selling a lifestyle. And we all know what happens when you sell a lifestyle to people, they tend to get invested. Lately, soloists don't have that visual branding experience. Artists like G-Dragon continue to thrive to this day because of the power and influence he had on an entire generation. He was a trendsetter of his time as a group member, inventing rep lines along with T.O.P., popularizing color hair, and coming up with light sticks as a concept. As gifted and talented as he is, nothing comes close to the visual branding which is an inspiration to almost all popular K-pop artists that we enjoy right now. Korea calling Suzy their first love or IU their little sister doesn't just happen out of nowhere. These artists pulled emotional investment out of the public through marketing strategies. To get emotional investment, you, as an artist, must give something worthy of it. And that is not achieved by slapping a few songs together and tying them up with an album cover. Anybody can do that. It is a process of careful planning, by putting together strategic ideas that audiences will find attractive, building brands using necessary components, and showing dedication to consistency in order to build trust. Above all, companies must find a way to make music that feels authentic to their artists. And by authentic, I don't just mean making mushy songs about heartbreak or struggles. Rosé's album painfully illustrates that isn't enough. What I mean is authentic to the idol's persona as an artist, like Jisoo. Create an album that makes the public say, that feels like the real Jisoo. Artists like her, Minnie, and seulgi give me hope that this generation is capable of taking us back to the former glory of soloists in K-pop. Despite the challenges in this area, I choose to remain optimistic, because nothing lasts forever, and it's only a matter of time before companies figure out what the people want. After all, artists like Sabrina did, even if it took her a decade to do so.